Ladies and gentlemen, joining the DOI's house is Mr. Anupam Kumar Jha, who is a key member of the solutions consulting team at New Relic. He is an experienced technopreneur currently working with the leading technology disruptors and unicorns in the Indian market on their journey in the digital space. Let's tune into his talk today as we uncover the hype surrounding self healing systems and how you can leverage New Relic in simple ways to start building robust self healing systems. With that, let's happily welcome Mr. Anupam Kumar Jha.
So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys. This is Anupam Kumar Jha. I am a solutions consultant here at New Relic. I work with leading tech organizations here in India on their observability, on their digital transformation journey. Thanks for taking the time to watch the session today. Today, we are going to cover the hype versus facts of self-healing systems, how they have evolved. And with that, let's keep moving. Now, before we get into the actual presentation, here's just something to keep the lawyers happy. We will be talking about some forward-looking statements. We will be talking about some things which are just for information purposes only. And just give it a quick pause and read through the slide here. Okay, so let's keep moving. So before I go to any presentation, I really like to set the agenda beforehand and what we are going to cover during the presentation itself. And here's the thing that we are going to cover today. So majorly, we are going to cover these four points. So firstly, we are going to uncover some facts and hype around self-healing system. What has been the whole buzz around the industry on autonomous systems, self-healing systems. Then we are going to uncover some proven design patterns. So how I would like to run it is, instead of just talking about what's the buzz around it, I would give you certain facts, that has been proven in the industry, things that have worked from reputed engineers, from leading engineers around the globe around self-healing systems. Then I'm going to talk about how you can get started on the self-healing journey just today, some things to get started basically, and then scale from there on to match production standards. Finally, what we are going to cover is how do we prepare for unknowns. So even if we build very reliable self-healing systems, it's always good to prepare for those unknown scenarios, and that's what we are going to cover towards the last. So with that, let's keep moving. Now, the first thing before, let's set the scene. Why did I even choose the topic of self-healing systems? Now, this has been in the industry. The idea has been in this industry for quite some time. And although it seems like a buzzword of modern times, but the whole idea of self-healing systems has been, floating around for decades. Now, it all started when we were working out of physical data centers. We are all working with physical servers, and even then, we had a concept of active passive, which is basically, literally we would fail over from one data center to the other in times of crisis or in times of outages. Now that's something that has been implemented. That's also a kind of self-healing which was implemented at the physical layer. Then things got moving. We also had self-healing at the storage layer, something that was made popular by Oracle DataGuard, which worked on the concept of data replication across the different databases in different data centers. From then, in recent modern times, in the last decade or so, when virtual platforms came into existence, when we had the whole concept of VMs, from VMware and all of the technologies around it, then we started to work towards fault tolerant systems and high availability systems, because suddenly now the whole network transfer cost, the whole cost of failover from one system to the other was significantly less, and the technology allowed us to do so. So that's something that was implemented at the hypervisor layer. Now this is very recent, the whole concept of self-healing, self-remediation around the services layer. When Kubernetes came into existence, when the whole concept of containers came into existence, one such example is Kubernetes probes, where it would look at the state of the application or the microservice running, and then change over based on that. Now finally, this is again something that has come up in recent years: serverless functions or autonomous services. which works at the app layer. Lambda, AWS Lambda is one such leading example of that. Now, I'm not going to debate on what's right or what's wrong, but here is also where the concept of no ops coming to existence. Now, no ops, literally meaning that you do not need operations people, but that's something that I do not entirely agree with. Again, there are pros and cons around it, but serverless functions, no ops, still need some work around it to have it maintained, to have it running seamlessly. Now, what we are going to cover in the presentation itself, will predominantly on the services layer, on the application layer. How do we tackle that, and how do we go about implementing it? Now, as I was talking, why did we even choose the topic of self-healing? This is something that has been in the industry for some time now, and everyone is talking about it. How do we achieve triple nines and four time nines of availability? Now, not everyone has given it a thought, but if you look at it, this is actually pretty significant number. Like if you are looking at the first two rows here, 99 and 99% of availability, this gives just enough time for humans to investigate and fix and resolve the issue. However, the bottom two, you would see it's significantly less amount of time for any human intervention, as such. So if your organization, if your systems have to move towards those higher numbers of availability, we have to keep removing that human intervention, and work for things to self heal and self repair themselves. So here's where you need to get started on that self healing journey, and here's where it gets really important. Now, what here I'm talking about is no bullshit but proven design patterns. So around self healing, there has been several concepts around what's right, what's wrong, but this is something that has been proven. The quote you're seeing over there, uptime 5,000, 1,500, 364 days, 15,006, 364 days. This is actually the uptime that was achieved by NASA's computers. And these are the 3R principles that it worked on: reliability, redundancy, and reconfigurability. So if your applications are matching these 3Rs, if you have these things to be built in, then you are headed in the right direction. Now, there are 6 golden rules when it comes to self-healing systems. And again, this is something that is not not hypothetical. This is something that has been proven. Again, the code that you see above here, systems that run forever, self-heal and scale. This is again a proven design pattern by Joe Armstrong, who was the creator of Erlang programming language, who made self-healing kind of the buzzword to start off with. Now, these are the 6 golden rules that we all need to keep into perspective when we go about self-healing systems. Now, first of them is components isolation. So especially in recent architecture, we have a lot of services, a lot of components working in tandem, working in a complex mesh. It becomes really important that we are able to isolate certain components which might not be performing up to the standard, and have them recovered, or have them isolated. The next is process concurrency. Obviously, when we are doing any self-healing, when we are auto remediating stuff, we do not want other things to break, that are working alongside. We want all of the process to run concurrently, and nothing should break. So that's process concurrency, again a must have. Must detect failures. So our system should have the ability to automatically detect failures. Now, this is something that can be achieved with some of the monitoring tools, observability tools that are running out there. And this is again one of the critical components. The fourth point is related to the third one here: correct fault identification. So if you are detecting the right failures, you should be able to identify what's the root cause. What's the root cause of the whole issue, what's the root cause of the whole failure. So that's point number 4. And then point number 5 and point number 6 is basically your systems, your applications should maintain a stable state management system. So you should keep the right version control. You should keep a good check of which version of systems, which state of systems we're running, in a reliable fashion, and so that you can do live systems upgrades seamlessly. So that's the 6 golden rules that any good or any robust self-reliable system has to be built on, and something that has to be kept in perspective. Now, moving on, This is something again that was made popular by NASA. Again, this is not based on emotions. This is not based on theory. This is something that has been, proven to work, something that has worked for NASA computers. Again, the benchmark for reliable systems. This is based on purely probability statistics and proven design patterns. So here basically they take into consideration a risk priority number, which is basically a function of severity of the incident and the different components that are involved in the incident itself. Now, this is something that you calculate, and based on that, you take the corresponding remediation workflows. Now, moving on, let's get closer to how we can implement self-healing architectures and get started with self-remediating systems. Now when I work with a lot of my customers, a lot of the companies over here in India, I get asked this question several amount of times. What do we actually do with these customers? And towards the pursuit of self-healing systems, what is and how does observability play a role? So basically, this is what we do with our clients, with our customers. We help them on their digital transformation journey. All the bullet points that you see highlighted over here in blue are basically the business objectives, or the engineering objectives rather, that we help them achieve, that we work towards along with them. And on the green side, those are the positive business outcomes that come as a byproduct of that. So we do this with our customers. Every 90 days we have a checkpoint meeting, like every 90 days, and something, we help them achieve those positive business outcomes, so that they have a really strong hold on observability, which is basically the laying stone, the foundation of building high reliable and highly redundant systems. Now let's get to the architecture itself. Now, this is something that forms, as I talked about, forms the basis of self-reliable systems, self-healing systems. But how does that come into life, and how can you start building it right away? So any self-reliable system, now here is one hype that we really need to uncover. So when you come across a lot of vendors, when you come across a lot of monitoring stacks, observability companies, you would hear terms like, okay, we can auto heal your systems, and we can auto heal your applications. Well, that is not entirely true. Any self-healing system, any auto remediating system majorly has two components. Now, first of those components is something that we're seeing on the screen right here. So as I talked about in my previous slide, you need really strong observability platform, and you need it to cover your entire tech stack. So generally, what we have seen across our customer base is you would have a dozen of tools to monitor your infrastructure, application, and different parts of your stack. However, if you want to build highly reliable systems, if you want to optimize your operations, this has to come into a single source of truth, in working in tandem with ubiquitous alerting or really powerful alerting working across your tech stack. Now, this is just the basis of, or one of the building blocks of self-healing systems. This has to connect to something called as workflow orchestration platform, which basically would take certain actions on your servers and go and do the remediating, trigger the remediating workflows itself. Now, these are the two major building blocks that we have to keep in perspective. And if you have those building blocks ready with you, you can get started with the self-healing journey right today. Now, again, this is a little theory, but how do we implement in practicality? Now, moving on, this is how you can bring it to life and build a solid self-healing robust system, in your own systems, just starting today. So you can use a platform like New Relic, and I would highly recommend New Relic, obviously, which gives you really rich data, rich alerting data. Obviously, it covers all of your tech stack, automatically correlates data coming from, all the telemetry data coming in from various systems, gives you intelligent recommendations based on it. So what you really need to use for self-healing systems is that powerful data. So you can use New Relic to have that really rich alerting data, being generated real time. And then we use, a plugin called Webhook, which is inbuilt into New Relic, which basically you can use that rich data and move it to a different system. Now, again, this was, if you remember the previous slide, this is the first building block of a self-healing system. Now, the second one will be a workflow orchestration platform. And, for start, we can take an example of Rundeck. Now, if you use Rundeck, basically what is happening over here is when the alerts get triggered, when you have those rich alerts data, you automatically feed that into the Rundeck engine, where you define what action or what remediating workflows have to be triggered. Now, this might seem a really simple architecture, but this is all it takes for you to get started. We have all come across those really simple use cases where the services are failing, or where we are running out of the storage space. Using this simple workflow, what you can achieve is, those redundant tasks being automated, those redundant problems being automated, and your systems, having a much better uptime and a much more, your engineers can focus on, doing all the good work on all the innovation, rather than going and fixing the alerts. So this is just an architecture that you can, get started immediately and start with your self-healing journey right away. Moving on, what could be an alternate architecture? In my previous slide, I showed something that you can get started with immediately. But what if you want to build more robust systems around self-healing, and something that can handle more load, and something that is more sophisticated, at the architectural level? Now, again, the basis of it remains the same. We use a tool like New Relic, which will give you really rich data, really rich insights, real-time alerts, intelligent correlation from your telemetry data. And then you can couple it up with, an alternate for Rundeck by combining, these individual pointers. Now, let me explain what is happening over here. So you are getting, so you're still getting those rich alerts being generated from New Relic. That is, instead of, directly being feeded into a Rundeck engine, that is going through an API gateway to an AWS Lambda, and ultimately triggering a Jenkins workflow powered by Ansible. Now, why this can be, an alternate architecture is because you can have, more complicated logics built into AWS Lambda. You can have more sophisticated queuing system built into the API gateway, so that you have, more robustness into the system. So if you are working as part of a big organization where you have thousands of applications, probably more than that servers, you can use a system like this to have a very sophisticated and robust self-healing system, built into your stack. So, this could be an alternate architecture that you can get started with. Again, you can replace these components with tools that are being used in your own organization. For example, you can replace Jenkins and Ansible by a tool like Chef or Puppet, if that is something that you use. If you're not using AWS in your system, you can use similar services from your own cloud vendors, or something that you have built on your own on-prem systems. But the idea remains the same. But what if you have, once you start building those remediation workflows, once you start building those self-healing systems, you can get to a point wherein you have a lot of logic built in, a lot of workflows built into these systems. And how do you handle that? Well, it's super simple. Basically, what you can do is have all of this coupled to a database. Now, this is very, architecturally a really simple change, but yet very powerful. So imagine this: if you have, thousands or hundreds of different types of remediation actions to be triggered for different types of alerting, different types of alerts, you can have something like this built, so that it's more sophisticated, so that it's more real time, and you're getting more dynamic self-healing done on your applications. Now, if you want to notch it up even further, so if you want to move ahead on that self-healing journey, let's say you have built all of this, and you want to go ahead and level up the game, basically. So if you want to do that, if you want to move towards ML ops, what you can also do is, this data becomes really valuable for your machine learning models. So if you have your ML models being made, and you want your ML models to automatically predict what is going on your systems, how you can remediate it, which would be the right workflows to trigger, you can have all of this data fed into your machine learning models, which will obviously get richer over time, depending on, how much incidents you're having, how much workflows are being triggered. and over time you'll have an ML ops, whole ML ops built around your self-healing, something that I refer to as intelligent self-healing, so that you can take more ML based decisions, AI based decisions for, for your self-healing systems. Now, in, some of us, one of the important component in this architecture, as I earlier spoke about, is the workflow or automation platform itself. Now, I talked about Rundeck, I talked about Jenkins, but here are some of the alternates that you can go for too. Rundeck, is the one that I use in my demo platforms, that I use on my own systems, because it's super easy to configure. If you are getting started with the self-healing journey, I'll definitely recommend you to get started with something like Rundeck or Jenkins, because it's super easy to set up. You have a free version available of it too. You can easily integrate with your own systems, and if you are using PagerDuty, obviously it integrates really well with the incident management platform also from PagerDuty too. An alternate could be Stackstorm. Now, this is a platform which was made really popular by Netflix. Engineers at Netflix have used Stackstorm to build more sophistication into their own self-healing systems. So something that you can really look forward to once you are maturing in the whole journey. This is an alternate that you can go for, but do watch out for some real complications and more sophistication that has come in into the platform lately. Lastly, you can also go for something like an Apache Airflow. Python is a programming language that is becoming really popular these days. And if your engineers are more well versed in Python, that's something that is popular right now. You can also go for a tool like Apache Airflow. So these are the alternatives. Now, summarizing what we have seen so far in the presentation and what we have talked about, if we were to categorize all the different types of situations and all the different types of outages that we come across, it can be categorized into these four different categories. Now, it's kind of a tongue twister, but these are known knowns, known unknowns, unknown knowns, and unknown unknowns. So basically, as the word suggests, the first category, known knowns, basically if you know what you are dealing with, if you have if the failure is well understood, if you know what the solution is, that falls into the category of known knowns. And here is where you can get started with the self-healing journey. You know what the failure is, you can really well anticipate it, and you can build systems and automations, and as I earlier talked about, using the architectures I shared, to help address these problems. Now, here is where you step into the 99% availability and move on from there. Now, for the rest of the others, you can definitely use New Relic to help mitigate those problems. As I talked about, alerting is a really powerful and a really fundamental piece of these self-healing systems. So you can use New Relic to work on those unknowns and help you identify that and help you get that rich data, so that you can trigger your own remediating workflows. Now, the third one, unknown knowns, you do not know, you cannot anticipate when the issue can come, but however, when it does, sort of where to look at. Now, this is something where you can use the FMEA logic that I talked about for you aspiring engineers and engineering managers out there who want to build more robust and reliable systems. I have a link down here where you can read about it in more detail and use the FMEA really in practice. Now, the final one, which is the most scariest one, unknown unknowns. So we do not know what the problem is. We do not know when it is coming, and we simply do not know anything about it. Now, here is where the real problem comes, and here is where it would take a real so much time to get into the self-healing journey. So the basic problem with unknown unknowns, here is where all the research is also happening. Several AI systems are being built around it, but the real problem remains around trust, because we do not trust the AI data. So that is also where a New Relic is working and has been working in the recent times. And there are some things that you can really start using even today, which would provide you that air cover for the unknown unknowns. Now, what we have used is something a similar concept to what you see in Netflix or in a Google ad. So basically, if you go to Netflix, initially Netflix doesn't know anything about you. You do not know what to expect from Netflix, but Netflix lets you choose those initial categories like sports, comedy, or drama, and then give you recommendations based on that. And once you start watching some content, it learns from your behavior and then helps you with more recommendations around your own viewing patterns. But the ultimate point here, the one that I have underlined on the bottom right here, is you ultimately decide what you have to watch, and which recommendations you take. Now, built on a similar principle, we have come up with something in New Relic called as Lookout. Now, for the same problem, unknown unknowns, we do not know what to expect, we do not know when to expect. We have something called as New Relic Lookout, which basically helps you analyze those unknowns in real time. You can use this to help identify any changes that is happening on your system, and work towards the resolution of it. Now, this comes again a little higher into the self-healing journey. Once you have figured all of those known knowns, when you have automated all of those stuff, here is where you can start getting more proactive. So any abnormal behavior that is happening around your systems, that is happening in your environment, you can use this to help remediate that and to help mitigate the issues. So that is something that you can use with New Relic Lookout. And again, around recommendations, some related to the Netflix example that I took, this is something that we are, as we are speaking, we are launching in the platform, where we will give you recommendations of where your blind spots are. So as I talked about, even if you build so much reliability and anything into your systems, there's always going to be some blind spot that you would not be watching out for, and it could cause something. So basically, what we are building is to give you recommendations to have some visibility built into those blind spots. So some screenshots that you're seeing on my screen is something that you will soon be seeing in New Relic as well, wherein you will be given recommendations based on your own application's behavior, based on your own system's behavior, and you will be able to tell which blind spots you want to get covered, and which are the ones you want to integrate in your systems. But again, a really powerful concept here is, even though we do give the recommendation, the ultimate power lies with you. You still have the ability to build so much customizations and anything and everything that is around it. So that's something that you can really get started with your self-healing journey with New Relic, using these recommendations to even match those really scary unknown use cases. And that's it. So doing a quick recap of what we saw during the presentation. So we uncovered some of the hypes and versus facts about eliminated the noise around self-healing systems. What is the right way, what is the right data to look out for. We looked at proven reliability principles, and here you can also use these as next steps to build your own workflow remediation engine, to build your own self-healing architectures, and all the architecture around it. So for the problem of trust, then we saw how you can use New Relic to eliminate that problem of trust, get those recommendations, and get started on your journey. So if you want to look out for a demo, or get in touch with us, reach out to us. Our team and someone from New Relic will reach out to you, and we can start on that journey together. Thank you.